Hey everybody, what's going on? Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened to my laptop, but it froze and died. So hopefully we're back. We're picking things up and we are back to go with this. So I have no idea where I left off there, but I was rambling on for a little bit of time just in regards to this PowerPoint deck from Ari Paul over at Block Tower. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right now. Sorry again for the drop off in the stream, but checking it out. So like I said before, one of the things I think is really interesting about cryptocurrency, and one of the things that I really kind of like about this industry, is how many different components are involved in understanding and just being a quote unquote expert, and why it's almost impossible to be an expert. And Ari Paul and Block Tower do a really good job of pointing out the different aspects of what you need to understand, or what you can understand, the different components that go into getting educated on cryptocurrency, whether that's investing and trading, understanding risk management, how to construct a portfolio, valuation methodologies, the actual computer science behind these cryptocurrencies and crypto assets, whether it's the development, the code base, analyzing the code base, understanding the cryptography, the distributed systems, game theory behind why somebody might mine, why somebody might run a full node, attack vectors, things of that nature, the politics of it, whether it's regulation, taxes, law, and then economics as well. So you can see here, I think from an education perspective, I'm not sure, about you guys, but there's certain areas here where I'm stronger, and certain areas where I have no freaking clue whatsoever, and I have massive gaps, and you try to fill those in as much as possible. But there's huge areas where you can become more educated as you go through. And one of the reasons I really like this too is it goes into some of the, outside of just the obsolete technology, but as you go down here, it talks about what is a blockchain. If you are unfamiliar with that, what is a cryptocurrency? But then also breaks down the use cases of certain cryptocurrencies, whether it's store of value, utility tokens, tokenized securities, which I'm diving into. I will have somebody on the channel that will be talking about security tokens in the very near future here. So we'll be able to dive into that and kind of how the value is captured, and also from like looking at old models with the internet where the protocol layer really didn't capture that much of the value and the applications did. Whereas now people are thinking that protocol layer, the FAT protocol, is going to capture the majority of the value, and the applications on top are not going to capture as much. And then also the accessibility discount associated with this. So this is, I think, a fantastic deck. I would highly recommend you take a look at it. I'll put a link to it. Here we go. I'll put a link to it, to that post from Ari Paul. I would definitely recommend you take a look at it. I think it's solid stuff. And then the actual link to his Twitter storm with all of the resources, including the one which is in the second, there's a link to that in the description below. So definitely check that out. And again, if you have been watching from the beginning, or if you just joined back, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. Helps to get the video out to as many people as possible, and also hopefully bring back the people that jumped away because I'm an idiot and my computer crashed. So that would be sweet. So outside of that, guys, too, so I'll pop over to here, and this is something that started circulating, and I'd love to hear your thought process on this. And I'm not just talking about Bitcoin, but just every cryptocurrency in general. Do you think hodling is a good strategy, or do you think it is BS? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as I kind of preface this and as we talk about this in a little bit more depth. Do you think hodling is real? Do you think it's BS? Would love to hear kind of your overall thought process and your strategy when it comes down to that. But one of the big reasons I think a lot of people are talking about this now is because this commentary came out from Federico Tenga, and he talked about, hey, these are the top 10 coins by market cap 5 years ago. And let's see how many of those new cryptocurrencies, let's see how many of those new cryptocurrencies are going to be around in the next 5 years. So if you look back now, and then I got another chart for you as well. So I'm taking a look at some of these comments. Hodling is where traders take your money. I hodl BTC and trade alts to get more BTC. Common strategy, Alex. Hodl BTC, trade alts. Hodling is great for some stuff. Always sell 2-3x profits. Yeah, I'm back, Richard. I'm back, baby. And we'll definitely get to that in a second. So just looking at this chart here, really, when you look at the top 10 from 5 years ago, the only thing that's still there is Litecoin. Bitcoin was number one, obviously. Litecoin was number two, but Namecoin, Peercoin, Novacoin, Terracoin, Devcoin, Feathercoin, Frycoin, CHN Coin. I've never gotten a question about one of those in a crypto happy hour ever, I don't think, outside of Bitcoin and Litecoin. So pretty funny stuff that I think is pretty hysterical. But you could see that Bitcoin is obviously still the big dog. Litecoin is still a top 5, top 10 cryptocurrency on any given day. But basically the rest of them have fallen off over the past 5 years. Granted, when you look at this was very, very, very early on. So just because that happened in the last 5 years doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. I think there's been a lot more maturation in the marketplace. And I think people understand how to maybe better value some of these assets. It's still very much not an exact science, but I do think that a lot of people are looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to have a 90% turnover, 80% turnover rate. I don't know if that is necessarily the case, but you can see here too. We'll take a look over at this and the valuation of. So here we go. So the valuation here is a good chart that we'll pull up here from Cynthia Wood, and it went over from the past 5 years, from May 9th of 2013 to April 30th now, the different adjustments in valuation. Bitcoin crushed it. Litecoin crushed it. Even PP Coin did pretty well. But yet Namecoin is down 75% over a 5-year period, in which Bitcoin is up 8,000%. Terracoin is down 96%. Devcoin is down 90%. Frycoin is down 82%. CHN Coin is down 99.9 or 0.28%. So it is interesting to see, just because something is a top 10 coin now, holding it for the long term hasn't always worked out in the past. Although, going back to preface things, 5 years ago was a pretty early time in the world of cryptocurrency when you had Bitcoin at a $1 billion valuation. So it's very much a different game, but it also does go to show that, hey, just because, like, let's say something like Ripple or Stellar Lumens is top 5 right now, or Cardano is top 7, doesn't mean Cardano is going to be it might not lose 90% of its value over the next whatever it might be. So definitely an interesting kind of point and discussion to think about as you look and as you consider hodling and looking at that. I do think that, and when it comes down to it, really one of the only things that I'm super comfortable holding on to is Bitcoin. And the rest of my altcoins, I'm much more prone to move in and out of positions and look at short, medium-term trades on those altcoins. Whereas Bitcoin, I am fine throwing Bitcoin, stacking Bitcoin in a ledger and not really worrying too much about what the price is, because I do think that in the long run, Bitcoin's value will continue to increase, whereas some of these altcoins might not as much. And I do tend to trade altcoins in the medium and short, medium, and long term to acquire more Bitcoin as well. So I think that holding is not BS, but at the same point in time, if you're not holding the right assets, then yeah, you're going to get your face ripped off, and you don't want to fall in love with anything in general. And that could even be true for Bitcoin. Naima, what's going on? Great to see you here again. Great to meet you in person at Consensus. Your thoughts on TradingView tools for traders? So I personally use Coinigy. That is I know a lot of people use TradingView. I personally leverage Coinigy. It's just what I've used for the longest time, and I like it. I like that it's just cryptocurrency focused. Although a lot of people use TradingView because they also trade other assets, not just cryptocurrency. But I like TradingView. I like Coinigy. But I think TradingView does have a free tier as well. So if you're looking to shave some dollars, then that might be a good way to go down. But for me personally, Coinigy gets the job done. Taking a look at some of these questions. What's up, Robert S? What's up, Zach? Pieces of Jade. And Sizzle has a good point. Hodling has paid off for me tremendously. On the one hand, you can't compare the market from 5 years ago to the market today. The landscape has changed tremendously. Yeah, I think, especially when you look in the past year, the majority of assets, if you would have just held on to them, the majority of crypto assets have gone up, like significantly. Especially the altcoins too. Like if you got into the market last May and you held on to basically anything, you pretty much broke even, if not made multiple X's on your investment from last May. So if you just started investing in cryptocurrency in the last year, the hodl strategy sounds fantastic. However, if you started investing in cryptocurrency 4 years ago and you look at some of the coins that maybe used to trade in the past, that might not be the case. So it does, the hodl strategy, I think, does depend upon the assets you've traded and or invested in and the amount of time you've been in the market in general. So looking at some more of these questions, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. Also, one thing that if you didn't know was possible, one of the cool things about CoinMarketCap is the historical snapshots. If you have never used those, it's always fun to go back and check out just to get context of things or just to reminisce on greater times in life. But if you want to go back and see what the market was on December 1st of 2013, you go back and see, hey, Bitcoin was $1,000, Litecoin was $40, blah blah blah. You could take a look at the run of some of those coins, and holy cow, look at, there were some ridiculous pumps back in like late 2013. I did buy the top, so I did do that. But like looking at something like Zeta Coin, over a 7-day period went up 8,000%. You had Megacoin over a 7-day period up 1,900%. Pretty incredible stuff. So that's pretty funny. Rebecca Bond, did you end up talking to Polyswarm at Consensus? Yeah, I did. I ended up having about an hour and a half long chat with Steve, Steve Bossy, the CEO of Polyswarm. Really good dude. I like the team. I do have money in Polyswarm. I think that it was one of the things that I love to hear from him was when Steve basically said, hey, I'm the only person on the team at Consensus, and everybody else is back working and grinding and working on the product. And I booked a flight back. I was supposed to leave tomorrow, but I'm booking a flight back later tonight just because I want to get the hell home and just start working. He's like, this is the conference stuff was almost like a distraction from work in some respects, I think. And I just like that attitude of kind of his thought process on development and shipping code on time and delivering product on time that people want. So I'm a fan of Polyswarm I've been a fan of Polyswarm since I had met Steve at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami, and I had a really good opportunity to catch up with him and love what I heard. So I'm excited about the platform moving forward and kind of all the work that they're doing. So should be solid. Thoughts on QSP, Grant? I like QuantStamp. I don't own any QuantStamp right now, but it is something that I do think has really... I think the team is solid, and I think that the opportunity for... I'll pop up the website. I do think that the opportunity for automated smart contract, really automated smart contract auditing and the way that they're approaching things is very much needed. Are they going to be the only company? I know companies out there that do not have a token ecosystem that you literally just write them a check and they audit your smart contracts, and they'll work on that and make sure that your kind of smart contracts are safe, they are secure. But I do think that is, when it comes down to a lot of these decentralized applications and some of these protocols, one of the big things everybody talks about, oh, this is decentralized, so it's safe. The big security flaw there is if you write a shitty smart contract, then you can lose somebody's money. And case in point is the Parity multisig wallet. If you guys don't remember what happened with the Parity multisig wallet, essentially Parity, which is one of the bigger, they have a desktop version for their wallet, and then you can also use a multi-signature wallet, which essentially means that multiple people have to sign a transaction to approve it. So it can't just be me, but it's myself, somebody else in California, somebody else in Boston, somebody in Europe, all have to sign this transaction before it will actually go through. And they had a wallet specifically for that, and somebody wrote a command to the wallet and froze like $100 million worth of Ethereum that was in everybody's wallet. And because the smart contract was shitty, they broke the smart contract essentially, and all that Ethereum is now literally stuck in a smart contract that they can't recover. So that goes to show some of the value behind what necessarily maybe QuantStamp can do and what smart contract auditing can really present in the long run. I do think that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they had the partnership with Binance, which is, I think, really smart. I think potentially in the future you might see maybe a partnership with them in Coinbase. That might, if Coinbase does end up rolling out ERC20 tokens, you would think that maybe that would be a smart move for them to align with Coinbase as well. That would probably pump up that price pretty significantly too. But yeah, I think QuantStamp is a solid team, a solid use case, and also would have been a damn solid investment too, since since early April when the market turned around. It has shown pretty significant strength ever since the Binance announcement and a lot of other things there as well. Trying to get to as many of these questions as possible. If there's anything that you absolutely must have answered, throw it in a super chat, and I definitely will get to that. What do you think about Zilliqa? Zill is one that I think is, from my opinion, platform plays have very different valuations. Going back to kind of Ari Paul's, let's see over here. So just popping over here, where is the value captured? And this was something that Ari Paul put together. There's a lot of other people, Joel Monegro at Union Square Ventures, and it talks about the FAT protocol layer and the value accruing right now with crypto assets in the protocol layer and not with the applications layer. You look at the internet now, and the protocol, like the TCP/IP and a lot of the backbone of the internet, that's not that valuable. There really isn't a ton of value there. Whereas applications like Facebook and Netflix and Google or whatever that actually leverage the protocols, the applications built on top of them, those are what the multi-billion-dollar companies, those are the multi-billion-dollar revenue points as well. Whereas now you're looking at a lot of these blockchain solutions and you're seeing the protocols like Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever, Cardano and Neo and all these protocols, multi-billion-dollar valuations. The applications, maybe like a QuantStamp or like a trying to think of some solid decentralized applications, that the valuations of those applications are significantly lower, significantly less. So when you pop over to something like crypto, when you pop over here and you can check out like the general platforms, I'll search. I mean, the platform plays, they all, for the most part, you look at there are 20, according to Onchain FX, there are 20 general purpose computing platforms in the crypto marketplace. Out of those 20, half of them have over $1 billion market cap, and there's another 5 or so that have the other 7 have over a $200 million market cap. So those are, I mean, they're very richly valued across the board, which is, I think, telling for sure. Zilliqa is one that right now is in the top 10, and I do think it has a very simple value proposition, because people can say, hey, it is a platform with sharding built into it. There are some different components of it that I like, some components of it that I think maybe are not the best, but because it is a pretty simple sell and it is in the general purpose platform play, I do think that the valuation has obviously done very, very well over the course of the past few weeks. Thoughts on CoinTracker? Naima and his hacked worth $400 a year. So I'm not too familiar with CoinTracker. Let me take a look at that. I'm not too familiar with CoinTracker off the top. Let me see. Is this what I use? I don't think it is. No, so I don't believe I've ever used CoinTracker. A lot of these, I mean, if you can check them out and sign up with them, see if you can do that for free if there's a free trial. Sometimes you're not able to do that, but I haven't used CoinTracker. Let's see. They might be helpful for taxing and things of that nature. And I'm not too sure what hacked is for $400 a year, but yeah, I would see if you can do some type of free trial with this, if that's possible. Evaluate it. I think cointracking.info is the one I use, and then bitcoin.tax. And then I use Delta just to track, not necessarily trades, but the price of things and how things are going, and also keep an eye on my phone. So that's my thought process there. Canyon Hills, what's going on? Thoughts on Cardano's updates, progress, etc. I haven't really kept too much in touch with what's been happening with Cardano in the past month or so. So I'd have to kind of go back and check that out and see exactly what, get a better thought process on where the Cardano roadmap is right now. I have been following Charles a little bit, but I'm not 100% positive as far as kind of where the updates and the progress are. I think, one of the things that has been interesting over the course of this, like, quote unquote bear market in the past few months, even though we've had a nice recovery since April, but if you think about 2018, is I think for the most part, a lot of these companies have done, while the price of a lot of these assets has gone down pretty significantly, the actual progress of development has really picked up pretty substantially. So I'm excited to see that even though the price of these assets has gone down, what ends up coming out of this, because this is really the time where these teams have to put up or shut up and start delivering on those promises, meeting roadmap goals and things of that nature. So I'm excited to see how that ends up panning out too. Sorry for the loud water bottle. So my thoughts on ICX, Icon. I think Icon is, it's similar to a lot of these platforms where, kind of going back to it, you look at something like Icon, you look at something like Zilliqa, you look at something like Lisk. A lot of them are trying to be the next Ethereum, and you have to really dive in and do your research on, in my opinion, you really have to dive in and do your research on these platforms and kind of pick one or two or three, whatever it might be, that you feel like have the best shot of gaining mass adoption, gaining developers, and come up to an accurate conclusion in your mind as far as why they will actually gain adoption and why people will use them. Because if you look at something like Ethereum and then you look at something like Icon, naturally you might think, okay, Ethereum right now is a $71 billion market cap. Icon has a $1.5 billion market cap. If Icon can somehow take some of that market share, the valuation should correlate in regards to the taking of that market share from Ethereum or maybe from EOS or from something else like that. So I think that I don't have a rock solid opinion on Icon. Some people love it. I think maybe there's other platforms out there that are maybe a little bit more easy to explain and might have a better shot of success, or one could argue that. But I think the valuation, when you compare it to some of these other ones, does provide some pretty legitimate upside, and there is a community of people that really do like Icon or ICX. So something to certainly keep an eye on. What's up, Patrick? Hope all is well, man. So one thing, how was your consensus experience? I didn't go to the entire event. One thing that I think is funny about consensus is that it was, number one, it was so freaking crowded. It was incredibly crowded, and not a massive fan of 8,000 people in a small hotel. Or it's not a small hotel, probably one of the bigger hotels in New York City. But I think that the event has gotten so big that they really need to move it to Vegas. Like, if you're gonna have 8,000 people, that should be like a Vegas Convention Center type of event and not like a New York City type of one. But DCG and CoinDesk are based in New York, so I'm sure they'll hold out on that as much as possible. The one thing too, going to that point, is you can stream the entire conference live. So I did stream a lot of it live, and then didn't go to the entire thing in person, just walked around, tried to meet as many people, but also did a lot of like after hour stuff. There are a lot of different after hour events, happy hours, cocktail hours, things like that, where I tried to meet as many people as possible. Got a chance to meet Carter Thomas from Coin Mastery, Luke Collins, Venture Coinist, hung out with Omar Bam from Crypto, BTC Kyle, Korean Jew Trading from Twitter, and I think he has a YouTube channel as well. So a lot of good people. Tone Vase, got a chance to meet and hang out with a lot of content creators, as well as just people that are running companies and working in the space. So consensus was fun for that. It's really just, I mean, outside of just the conference in general, like you could debate whether or not it's worth spending between $1,000 to $3,000 for these conference tickets, but it's cool to have basically everybody in crypto in the same area at once and be able to hang out with a lot of these people. So Mirko mentions, where do you get coins before they get listed on major exchanges? So one of the easiest places now is IDEX. This is probably so you could do Fork Delta or IDEX, but in a lot of cases, I think IDEX is probably the easiest place to find crypto assets before they move onto exchanges. With IDEX, they are all ERC20 tokens. So with IDEX, they are all going to be ERC20 tokens. So they're likely ICOs. They're not going to be a separate platform. And that's something that you can find some gems in IDEX, and you can also find some coins that are not on some of these other exchanges. The other place you can also head to if you're looking for gems that are not on other exchanges is CryptoBridge. So this is a decentralized exchange that I'll pull it up here, that utilizes Bitcoin instead of Ethereum. A lot of these other decentralized exchanges like IDEX, like Radar Relay, or like AirSwap, those are all ERC20 based, Ethereum based exchanges. CryptoBridge is an exchange that is not ERC20 based. So there's other assets that you might find there. Like I bought Raven on this bad boy, and there's other assets you can find. Like Raven is the one that I bought on CryptoBridge. It's not a bad system at all. It's pretty easy to figure out how to use eventually. Oh, it's Luke. Did I say Luke Collins? I meant Luke Martin. Yeah. Taking a look at some of these questions here. Okay, Keenan Hills, what's going on, man? I appreciate the super chat there again. Thoughts with Bitcoin Maximal saying $250,000 Bitcoin? I think that's pretty lofty. I think that's really lofty in my mind, but I would love to see it happen because I have Bitcoin, and if we have $250,000 Bitcoin, that would be fantastic. We're a long way from $250,000 Bitcoin, though. I mean, we haven't even gotten back to $10,000 right now, and we're talking about a 25x gain. So I'd like to see us break $10,000 and then break $20,000 before I start counting my money and talking about $250,000 Bitcoin. I do think that the actual utility of Bitcoin has to significantly improve before you see that. The transaction scalability, you're going to have to see Lightning Network get a lot better, increased adoption of SegWit, more merchants potentially taking it, or just a really big shift towards Bitcoin as like a dedicated store of value for a global population. So BMW man, nobody talks about Fluffy Pony's $800,000 watch at Consensus. That was something I thought on Twitter. I talked a little bit about it yesterday. I made a tweet about it, but I thought that was like the silliest thing on the planet. Like, people freaked out because Ricardo Spagni, the founder of Fluffy Pony on Twitter, the founder of Monero, had an $800,000 watch on his wrist and took a picture, and then somebody noticed it, was like, yo, that's an $800,000. It wasn't like he was walking around and being like, hey guys, I got an $800,000 watch. He took a picture with somebody, and then somebody saw the watch and was like, holy shit, that's an expensive watch. And then people were like, oh, what an idiot. Why would he spend $800,000 on a watch? You can spend $800,000 on whatever the hell you want to spend your money on. I don't think that's a big deal. There were a lot of people freaking out like, oh, he shouldn't spend $800,000 on this. He should donate it. He should do this. He should do that. You can spend your money on whatever the hell you damn well please spend your money on. That's my personal opinion. If you want to spend it on a watch, if you want to spend it on a Lambo, if you want to spend it on a house, if you want to spend it for your grandkids' future college, do whatever the hell you want. If you want to donate it all to charity, do whatever you want. But I don't think anybody on Twitter, anybody else, has any right to tell them how to spend their money, especially if it's not doing any harm to anybody else. Was anybody harmed in the making of Fluffy Pony's $800,000 watch? I don't think so. So shut the hell up. That's my thought process. But Paul Lindsay, getting bored with Wabi. Are you still holding that paperweight? I'm in the same boat. I'm definitely getting a bit bored with Wabi. I've been slowly shedding a little bit of that position and evaluating if I just want to get rid of the entire thing. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, Paul. And maybe that means we should both be bullish about it. But no, I've been slowly, getting myself out of that position and moving into some others. One that I haven't updated the website as much recently, but the one thing that I did do in the past couple days was I talked about Binance requiring, I think it was like 500 BNB tokens to double the affiliate commission. And I have referred a fair amount of people to Binance, so I ended up making that move and acquiring 500 BNB tokens. So that was one thing that I ended up doing, was kind of going through or just acquiring a bunch more Binance BNB tokens, just because I could use the double commission, and that's something that I would like to see. Instead of getting 20% on trading fees, I get 40% now. So I haven't updated my portfolio with that, but I did take some weight off of a couple different positions that I was either getting a little bit bored with or just wasn't seeing what I wanted to see from them, and move that into BNB token so I could get the double commission on that. And I'm also hoping that does at some point in time end up increasing the value more substantially of BNB, because it is a decent amount of, you're talking about over 500 tokens. It's a decent amount of money to have sitting somewhere, on just BNB. So hopefully not just doubling the commission, but also value accrual there as well. What do you think of Blockstream? Good, bad for BTC? I kind of laugh at some of the conspiracy theories. I don't necessarily think it's bad. There's a lot of centralized entities. There are a lot of different companies that are working on things, but I mean, there's like Bitcoin. I know the Bitcoin Cash community loves to cry about Blockstream. I also think there's centralized elements, obviously, to Bitcoin Cash as well. So I don't buy into I don't really buy into all that. I don't necessarily know if it's great for Bitcoin, but I don't think it's bad. So taking a look at some of these questions here. Do you think 2018 will have stronger gains than 2017? Myself personally, no, I don't think so. I think 2017 was an incredible year. I think 2017 was an incredible year in the world of crypto. Investing in any crypto assets in 2017, you probably made between 10 to 50x. It was almost impossible not to make like a 5 to 10x. So investing in crypto in 2017 was about as fantastic as it could possibly get. I don't think you're going to repeat. We haven't even come close. I mean, we're back about 50% from where we were at another point in time. So I don't think that we're going to see that again. I don't think we're going to see that type of move again. I do hope, though. I mean, I have a significant portion of my own wealth in cryptocurrency, in crypto assets. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting at some point in time a return to back where we were, and or kind of even above that. I do still think that at some point in time we're going to see $1 trillion crypto market in 2018. Still have about half the year. That was my prediction at the beginning of 2018. Still about 6 months for that to go. Can that happen in 6 months? Absolutely. But it's maybe it's looking a little bit less likely as of right now. Have I ever tried a sentiment analysis tool for trading? Any thoughts on that? I personally have not tried a sentiment analysis tool. I'm not sure if there's any you're thinking of in particular. I think there's a lot of traders that have kind of built custom sentiment analysis tools for themselves. I don't. I think trying to think of the crypto. There's a project off the top of my head that does some type of like sentiment analysis. I think they have a token as well. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but I think sentiment analysis is something is a real tool and a real technique, but I really haven't done that. So I don't necessarily have access to the tools right now, but I think that would be something I would potentially be interested in evaluating further. Although it's something that's pretty easy to game too. I mean, a lot of people will game things like the Telegram users. People brag about how many Telegram users they have. There's a shit ton of fake Telegram users out there, things like that. Twitter followers, all that stuff. BTC, PL, BTC versus ETH versus OMG. Long term, I'm most bullish on Bitcoin. I think Ethereum and not necessarily OMG, but I think Ethereum has a tough road ahead of itself in terms of scalability. I think there are some of the most talented developers working on Ethereum, but there's a lot of mind share that's going to building on top of Ethereum and not necessarily to building Ethereum itself. And then OMG, I think, is maybe a little bit, I don't want to say less ambitious, but I think, you know, out of Bitcoin, out of Ethereum, out of OMG, I've held all three. I've traded all three. I've held all three for months and months. And in the case of Bitcoin and ETH, years. But I think Bitcoin right now is something that, I guess, just in my opinion, would maybe be the safer move. Chris Smith, what's up, man? Appreciate that. Hey, Bobby, in your opinion, how diversified is too diversified, and doesn't it become counterproductive at some point in time? Great question, and it depends upon the individual. So there are a couple different people, and I'll pull up this dude on Twitter. So let's see if we can pull it up. But the man Litecoin, who has been on Crypto Street podcast, and I like listening to Crypto Street because they always have traders on there, and they talk quite a bit about and I ask these traders all the time, like, hey, what's your strategy? How many coins do you hold? Like, are you holding for a long time, short time, whatever it might be? Some traders out there might have 3-5 cryptocurrencies, and they'll go heavy into those 3-5. Maybe they have 10, 15, and then they'll just constantly keep an eye, and they'll try to hit their targets. They'll enter a position, they'll try and make whatever percentage gains that they're going for. They'll exit that position, they'll have 5 they're keeping an eye on, and they'll move from there. Somebody like Litecoin, though, I believe, and I can certainly be corrected if I'm wrong here, but I think he probably holds closer to like 80 to 100 assets, smaller positions and smaller crypto assets, but he's holding them to, capture basically value and upside in these tiny, in these tiny positions that you wouldn't otherwise get unless you were holding certain assets like that. So, for example, like somebody like Litecoin might have held, like, let's say something like Ryblox. When Ryblox is very small, maybe a $30 million market cap, you hold 50 coins with a $30 million market cap. Yes, some of those coins with a $30 million market cap might go down 95%. But if one of those coins with a $30 million market cap goes and pulls a Ryblox, where it went up to like $5 or $10 billion at one point in time when it rebranded to Nano and all that crazy stuff, at that point in time, that gain from Ryblox can kind of outweigh the negative downside. So I do think that the diversification is personal preference. Some people like to only be in a few different assets. It's easier on their, on their brains. They don't have to concentrate as hard. They don't have to search for as many tokens. But somebody, some people out there like Litecoin are looking at maybe closer to like 100 assets, and they're buying and they're forgetting, and they're saying, hey, if this thing pulls 100x, fantastic, I'm making money. If it goes down 90%, that's fine, because I'm going to get something else that's going to pull 50x or 100x, and I'm going to be able to get my money back, and I'll be all right in the long run. So different, different kind of approaches, but I do think it comes down to what you think. For me personally, I usually have, I'd say, between like 8 and 15 crypto assets. Anything above that kind of just makes my mind go a little bit nuts. That's kind of my sweet spot for me personally. So looking at some of these questions, what do you think about Electroneum? I've never been a fan of Electroneum. It's done fairly well, but I don't think the tech is anything impressive. I've just never been a fan of ETN. Not my cup of tea. Mobile mining, I think, is eh. And the fact that it almost had $1 billion valuation at one point in time just still blows my mind. But if you participate in that ICO, good on you, because you crushed it. But outside of that, I'm not a big Electroneum guy at all. It's just not my cup of tea. taking a look at some of these questions here. Rodrigo, can you speak a little bit about AirSwap? So I actually was just, I got back today that we had, so as many of you guys might know, I'm a full-time employee of AirSwap, so I try not to speak too much about it just because I don't want people to call me a shill because I work at the company. And yeah, I try not to do that as much as possible because that gets annoying. But yeah, so I mean, with AirSwap, we're definitely working on just getting more adoption on the platform. I do think that right now, if you've never seen it, the actual platform itself is pretty, I think pretty beautiful and functions really, really well. Whether or not you're using MetaMask or if you're using Treasure, there's now I think about 50 tokens right now, including Make or Die. So there's a stable coin on AirSwap as well for you to trade a number of different tokens. I'm excited about the progress that's been happening so far and the progress that we'll continue to see with it. I know the team's working really hard. I was with everybody from basically Monday of last week till this morning. So I think that just kind of continuing education and improving the platform as much as possible and talking about some of the benefits of utilizing a decentralized exchange are going to be important, and the simplicity of using something like AirSwap as well. So that's just kind of my thought process on it, but I try not to talk about it too much just so people don't freak the hell out on me and give me BS that I really don't feel like dealing with. So let's see here. What was the securities mood at Consensus? How are people reacting? I'm not sure if you're talking about security tokens, and that's something that I've been diving deeper into in a lot more depth. That's something that my role at AirSwap personally has evolved into. I've been working with the team on on evaluating that and have an official partnership with a company called Cityblock Capital as well. So excited about the area of security tokens. If you're referring to that, I will have actually, it should at some point in time, I'll let you guys know when, but Rob Nance, who is the CEO of this company, Cityblock Capital, is launching a security token with a company called Securitize. And then I want to bring him on the channel to talk about exactly what a security token is, why it's interesting, maybe why it's not as interesting, and we'll get into all the nitty gritty about that. But that was definitely something that was heavily discussed at Consensus, because that's kind of the hot new thing right now is security tokens, because everybody's a little bit scared of regulation and initial coin offerings. So they're talking about security token offerings. So somebody mentioned, what's up, Hein? What's your take on the printing of 250 million more Tether? Typically, when Tether prints more Tether, the market has a positive reaction to it. Who knows about the actual legitimacy of the printing of the Tether? That FUD, or that FUD around Tether seems to have subsided for the time being. For whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure. There was a point in time where people literally thought that Tether was just going to blow the market up, and they were super worried about Tether and freaking out about Tether. And now it is that's not really the case. So I think, as far as $250 million being printed negatively affecting the market, I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, it's a positive occurrence. So I'm not too worried about that. It has been interesting to see the FUD around that subside pretty substantially. And guys, if you are watching this video right now, please hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. Helps to get this video out to as many people as possible, and I really, really do appreciate that. When you guys do give that thumbs up button, it's a huge, huge help to me. So thank you guys so much for that. Isn't Binance introducing another stablecoin alongside Tether? It's certainly possible. I'm not sure. I think, was it maybe True USD? There was a stablecoin that pumped. It was supposed to be linked to $1, and it actually pumped over, it pumped to like $1.20. I think that might have been True USD. There are stablecoins are something that is it's a very interesting debate. There are some people that think stablecoins are going to be fantastic, and there are some people that think stablecoins are going to explode. And the second there's a downturn in the market, you're going to see a massive blow up of Tether, of MakerDAI, of Basis, of True USD, of whatever. So definitely something to think about. I had a chance to talk to the guys from Haven. They're a smaller stablecoin right now, but it's something that stablecoins are going to be fun to watch. Naima mentions, is it better to let a crypto fund manager assets? Can you recommend one? It's hard keeping up. So I think that number one, you have to be an accredited investor if you're going to invest in a crypto hedge fund. That is absolutely the case. You're going to need to be an accredited investor. Otherwise, you won't have access to investing in a crypto hedge fund. Two other things: you can invest directly in one fund, or you can invest in a fund of funds. I believe one was, and I think I've talked about this previously, but Protocol Ventures is one fund that is a fund of funds. So before I talked about Ari Paul. Like, let's say Ari Paul, he has his fund, Block Tower Capital. Maybe the minimum investment might be $500,000 to invest in his fund, and he will manage your $500,000. Alternatively, you can invest your $500,000 or your $250,000 in something like Protocol Ventures. And what these guys are going to do is they're going to invest all of that money into Block Tower, and then they're going to invest that into Pantera and Polychain and Multicoin and all these other different funds. And that's going to give you the opportunity to basically have exposure to all of those strategies and not necessarily just one fund. So if you are thinking about that, Protocol Ventures is something I would check out if you are accredited. Obviously, you're going to have a pretty substantial amount of money in the bank to be able to afford something like that. But the concept of kind of how they're doing things is pretty cool. Is pretty cool and pretty interesting. So I kind of like that thought process if that's something that you have the appetite for. And maybe, you put some money into something like Protocol Ventures, and you keep some money on the side, see what happens, see the difference. I want to be financially independent, all freaking ready. Yeah, shout out to Carlos Matos. Always a homie, always a G. His wife doesn't even believe him anymore, but he's still trucking along. He's still doing his thing, because you're never going to tell Carlos Matos no. He's always going to stick around. So I'm going to see Deadpool tonight. So hopefully maybe me and Carlos, we can hang out. Maybe I'll see him. I'll treat him to a ticket. Yeah, so somebody mentioned Haven. I know a couple different people that like Haven a lot. I have no money in this whatsoever, so don't give me any shit. But let's pull this up here. So I have no money in Haven whatsoever, but I did talk to a couple guys at an event that Busto held. Let's see here. So I did talk to a couple of these guys. If you're looking for a low market cap cryptocurrency, I repeat, low market, high risk, this is a stable coin so there's kind of the two different components of it. The way it was described to me is essentially a stable coin that also has privacy elements to it as well. And then there's kind of the stable coin itself, and I believe there's like the speculative asset, or there's the other kind of asset of it as well. But this is something that maybe if you're interested in exposure to a private stable coin that is a lower market cap, maybe something you want to check out. I talked to the team. They were pretty interesting. I don't have any money in it whatsoever, so I'm not too worried about it. I believe it's only traded on some small exchanges. It's on Trade Ogre and Nanex, so smaller, but maybe it's worth checking out if you if you have some interest in something like that. So taking a look at some of these questions here. Adam mentions I like Raven a lot. Yeah, I have a pretty decent holding of Raven coin. I've been scaling into that. I think that might be one that ends up popping off. So I have a decent holding of Raven coin. It's done well, but I do think that it could do even better in the long term. Still pretty small when it comes down to it. So I'm a fan of Raven coin. I like Bruce Fenton. I like the way that the team is working on things. Right now, it's only on CryptoBridge and QBTC. So I think eventually you're going to see this on other exchanges, and I think that's going to increase the utility of it, and that's going to increase the accessibility of this one. So I'm looking to continue to stack up on Raven. I think at a certain point, I think if we do see at some point in time, if we do see an altcoin run, you're going to see this worth, at least in my mind, if we see an altcoin run, an altcoin summer, an altcoin season, whatever you want to call it, you're going to see Raven coin with like $100-200 million valuation, maybe, which would be a 3, 4, 5x from here. So, and I'd be pretty cool with a 3, 4, 5x. I'd be happy about that. What's going on? So at this point in time, I am, like I said before, I got a ticket to, and shout out to AMC for the $22 Dolby ticket to Deadpool. I remember when tickets weren't $22 to see a damn movie, but gonna actually make myself some dinner, make myself some ribeye, because why the hell not? It's Sunday night. So gonna go cook myself some food. Go check out Deadpool. Hopefully that is good. I love the first video. I've seen that I've watched that like 75 times every time I fly to San Francisco. So hopefully looking forward to seeing Deadpool 2 tonight. I appreciate all the questions, all the comments. It was awesome hanging out with you guys. Really do appreciate it. I will keep an eye on the market. If there is anything, as always, follow me on Twitter for just quick thoughts and reactions. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe. Thank you guys so much for your time. Crypto Bobby signing out. Have a good one. Peace.